first of all, for those of us like me who maybe store some of our files on our computer, I know, shock horror, old-fashioned, can you just tell people what this cloud storage is, first of all?
Yeah, the idea, I mean, cloud's like this buzzword now. It basically just means storing things on the internet somewhere instead of on your own personal file. So Google puts your content, or theoretically will, when they launch the service, put your content on their servers, and you'll be able to access it the same way you could access your Gmail from anywhere.
Okay, and why is Google coming up with this? The story said that it's planned to be announced in the next couple of weeks.
Right.
Why is Google coming up with this now?
I think for Google, the issue is largely one of stickiness. You know, I mean, they're unquestionably the king of search. That's why you go to the site. But if all your friends are on Facebook and all your media content is on Dropbox, then at a certain point they're going to have trouble commanding as much of your attention, and they're trying to head that off now.
You mean Google isn't
all embracing, all powerful?
I mean, I go to Google. And they offer me mail. They offer me a social network. They offer me Google Docs. They offer me Calendar. They offer me. Look, they offer me basically everything my PC used to offer me.
Right.
But a question about Dropbox. I mean, were they just an idea that was kind of ahead of its time, and now it's so easily replicated that that basically they've lost their distinction in the market? There's nothing, and do they have something to differentiate themselves enough to compete?
Well, storage is storage. I mean, online storage really isn't technically any different from offline storage, right? You get a box and you put stuff in it, so it's a matter of how effectively, I guess, you can deploy, how cheaply you can raise capital and build server farms and provide the service, But Dropbox does have a following. They've got tens of millions of users. There's a lot of VC interest. It has a $4 billion valuation or so. And this sets up an interesting fight, really. In the last 4 months, 5 months, they've had Apple come in as a contender or as a competitor with iCloud, and now Google's going to be coming in. And we'll see how it shakes out. I mean, back in the day, if Barnes & Nobles and Amazon get into books, this sort of startup bookstore doesn't have a chance. But but the internet's different. You do see these startup companies that do get traction, and maybe they stick around. But it is a gap. I mean, for them, they're in the crosshairs.
I think of Netflix with streaming movies and them sort of being out there in front. And now you can get streaming movies from just about everybody. Right. And of course, we know the problem that Netflix is going through. So. Tough to differentiate yourself.
And what about, how do you think this product could potentially compare with some of Google's other recent products? You mentioned Google Plus. I don't know about you guys, but it's not something that I really use that much. It's not something that my network of friends use. Do you think it could be a potential, I don't want to call Google Plus a flop, but just not as popular as their Gmail or their Google Docs?
Yeah, I mean, who knows? People are going to want to use these sorts of products, and as we were discussing there, it's a commodity. So why people wouldn't use Google when they're already on the site a bunch? But it is, I mean, it's this idea of like getting deeper into people's lives. You don't want to just be, in search. You don't want to just be in mail. You want to be everywhere people are spending their time. And the other big trend here is mobile. It's no surprise that, or it's not going to sound surprising anyway, that smartphone and tablet use is exploding. These devices were sort of purpose-built for media consumption. People want their content to be available and as portable as their devices are.
Right.
So Google has a lot at stake in mobile with their Android system and with the shift from the desktop, which is where they still make most of their money.
And what
so
about,
it's important to be there.
What about pricing for this? Is this something that's going to be, I think a lot of Dropbox is free, but if you're above a certain size, then you have to pay a little bit. Is that going to be the similar situation with this?
Well, that's actually the interesting part of this. According to Amir's reporting, Google's going to try and undercut Dropbox. And so a large chunk of what they're offering is going to be free, sort of the same way they do with mail and everything else. So Dropbox, you get 2 gigabytes of storage free, which, whatever, gigabytes a lot, but when you're talking about movies and big electronic files, digital files, it's not, it doesn't last forever. So they do rely on people buying service as well.
I'm trying to remember, Drew, is Google Mail restricted in size? I mean, don't you have a pretty big storage capacity with that already? And I mean, it seems
to keep growing every day. It's like you look at the size, right? And it's growing.
I think of 2 things. I think that first of all, Google obviously just has the size to squeeze somebody out like Dropbox. I mean, and as you say, undercut them completely. And I also think, Jeanette's situation, I mean, she's sort of an old timer with her fax machine and her hard drive and her whatever.
How'd you know?
And and I'm curious, are businesses going to embrace this more and more? Are we going to see the disappearance of the hard drive on the computer? Is security good enough now that businesses can use this?
Well, business has been talking about clouds for cloud computing forever, and thin client PCs and things like that. And yes, they're definitely moving there. It's a booming business. It's a little trickier for a large business because you have security concerns, you have compliance concerns. You know what I'm saying? You don't want just stuff stuffed into the cloud. But like Amazon does great business with small businesses, providing computing and storage on demand via their cloud services. So yeah, no, it's definitely moving into business, and this gets there too.